Hey there, Exiles. Back again with some updates on my ongoing Winter Orb Power Charge stacking Occultist project. Now with Grand Spectrum and Tullfall shenanigans. So rather than using the Relikish boots that I had been using before, I've now swapped over to Tullfall as a way to generate frenzies. So with 3 Power Charge Grand Spectrums, that brings me to 9 minimum, and then Disciple brings me to 10, and then 11 here with this craft. So you can see I'm 11 out of 12 power charges. So every time I reach maximum power charges, which is constantly every time I'm hitting something, power charge on crit, etc., I gain a frenzy. So I'm constantly gaining frenzies while killing. This is a primarily mapping build, so that's not too much of an issue. Bosses tend to die within the duration interval. And now, rather than a Void Battery, we're gaining flat cold dispels and then cold damage per frenzy. So the main reason I swept over this was the cold damage per frenzy. So with 12 frenzy charges, that's 240% increased cold damage. So that's a lot more scaling on Herald of Ice as opposed to the just power charge scale, or just spell damage rather, scaling from Void Battery. One major downside is we had to give up Militant Faith. So we're losing 36 to 39% more spell damage. So a single target took a little bit of a hit, but it's still more than enough for for your mapping. If you're maybe running like tanky mons in a delirium, it can get a little bit slow, but it's an ongoing project. We're working on it, and you can sort of play around that. So let's just run a quick map so you can see how it works. One major advantage of this is that I no longer have to hear the sounds of frenzy or charges constantly expiring every time I move. Then the added benefit is that your frenzy charges are up all the time rather than just while you're standing still, so your speed is much more consistent. So you can see we're instantly at max frenzies, just as long as we're killing. And then it just pretty much plays the same. Elusive adds a whole bunch of speed and a good amount of mitigation. I think the max effect is almost 200%. So that's something like 30% to avoid all damage from hits. I'm debating using Withering Step on left click just for the more consistent uptime, but it remains to be seen if that's really worth it. I dislike how it messes with the cooldown on Frostblink, and as my movement, like get out of oh shit button skill, I prefer to not have that on cooldown constantly. So Herald of Ice is still in a 4-link, using Ice Bite, Power Charge, and increased crit. So it's right around 50% crit right now. If I were to get Horror Crafted Gloves, I think I could get that to at least 75. That might be worth doing now that I can potentially have a little bit of flex with my spell suppression. That would allow me to recraft my gloves and go for the horror crit. I do have some other bases, so I'll probably just craft on those. But overall, it's feeling pretty good. I just like the more consistent charges. I like being able to just be faster. For a pure mapping build, speed is kind of more important than anything. One thing I am considering is swapping out Ice Bite in my links for either maybe Awaken added cold just for the +1, or maybe for Awakened cold penetration and the more consistent exposure. As I'm adding so much flat damage from my wand and then my rings, I'm not sure if the extra added cold is really not being that beneficial here. So that remains to be seen. But I just wanted to give you guys an update. I saw this tech on a YouTube video. I'll link it below. He took it from another guy. They're both going like a low life route. I kind of like hybrid, mostly just because it's easier for me to maintain suppression cap. But there are a couple different ways you could play this. I think CI might actually be a cool way to do it. But that would, of course, require completely different gear. So, remains to be seen. This is a fun, ongoing project. I really like all the, new tech we get to mess with now with charges, whether from, Ralacash or Grand Spectrums. But overall, still really enjoying the build. Thanks everyone for watching, and see you guys next time.